So this morning I logged into Destiny. It is the Tuesday reset. There's a new message here from Salad Head going on about some shenanigans happening in the Cosmodrome, and we are expected to go in and basically put it down again. Um, and I'm like, yay, cool, more stuff. I like stuff. So far this season has been pretty entertaining. There's really no major push or pressure on the game as far as getting activities done. I know a lot of people out there like to farm and grind. I'm a binge player. I binge in the sense that I get into an activity or a set of activities, and long before I'm sure most game designers want from their players, they want people who are so engaged in the content they can immerse themselves and lose themselves in the game. And because you want to be entertained, it's a service, and services are all about making customers happy. Now, full disclosure, I'm on my second restriction, which is now the 2 month version. And it still confuses me because my son and I play on the same Wi Fi, and I have a 98% signal strength back here, even though we're only separated by, I mean, not, I mean, literally less than 100 feet. In fact, if I were to get up right now and walk to where his console, where he's playing now, even though he's about 5 feet away from his Wi-Fi, he gets the same signal strength as I have. He has a 90 to 96%. I average about 90 to 96%. On some high activity days, when everyone's up and everyone's on their devices, we get to about 80%. I don't play PvP or Gambit in those times, namely because I'm busy doing other things with my family. You know, it's probably people are doing their stuff on their games and stuff. That means at that time I'm off doing actual IRL chores and and binging life, as it would. So it's really confusing to me that it seems like the last time I got restricted like this, I played about 10 matches in Gambit, and the last two matches in the game, there was a person on the enemy team who was able to basically continue, taking out my teammates, even though the timer for invasion had long expired, like about 3 or 4 seconds actually. There was also some, some shenanigans, other stuff, but and I don't. I report every now and then when I see somebody doing something egregious. It's very obvious they're cheating, so I went in and I did report this person for cheating. And then after that match, during the lobby, it said you're on a 2 month restriction for because this account has shown to have consistent poor connection, and it is impacting the playability of other gamers. And I'm like, oh shit! But I was still in the lobby. It didn't kick me out of the lobby, so I was like, okay, let's figure out what's going on here. Maybe this is just a bug. And so I did. I tweeted to Bungie and asked them, hey, is this a bug? Bungie.help, that is. And no response, of course. I haven't checked recently, but still no response within that afternoon. That was about 2 days ago. So yeah, I played a few more matches of Gambit, and as it turned out, I needed to get off the game because I had other things to do, and so being a mature and responsible person, I went ahead and I did that. But when I went back onto the game, there and behold, there's my restriction: no PvP, no Gambit, and I'm like, fuck, that's awesome. How is this going to impact this is it. How is this going to impact my progress through the season? Since I prepaid for this shit when Beyond Light came out, 2/3 of the game essentially is not available to me anymore. And I count the measures of the game. Actually, I'm going to count the. I'm going to be very generous and liberal here and count the planetary patrol areas also as a playlist activity. So there are 4 playlist activities. That makes half the game is unplayable to me. Okay? And if I just go by the playlist directors, 2/3 of the game is unplayable to me. And if I go by what I actually enjoy the most out of this game, the entire game is unplayable to me. Because all I like playing is Gambit. Believe it or not. I go into Strikes and I go into Crucible to get the Pinnacle gear, to get the powerful gear, to work on Catalyst, to try to attain Catalyst, and everything that I've been doing for my character has all been about performing in Gambit. Now, I am not a moat hog. I am not a kill stealer. I will not camp on an ally's shoulder to get the cleanup while they're struggling to reload their slow ass fucking 120 gun. Okay? I will not do that. I don't do that. In fact, if anything else, on my team, I am softening up groups of enemies so that people can get the cleanups. I am annihilating elites and more challenging opponents with my weapons that I have tuned specifically for those purposes and letting them get the motes. At the most, if you look at my Light GG, if you look at my Destiny tracker, they will show you how many motes I average as a bank in Gambit. It is way less than anybody else that I play with. It is almost half of the top board. Okay, I don't go for top board. Now, to come to Primeval, I whip out the Malfeasance and I lay into that motherfucker. I don't target the emissaries. I don't target any of the ads unless there's a goblin or something like that who can shield the enemy. Unless it's a direct threat to doing damage to the boss, to the Primeval, I don't shoot at anything else. And that includes, in some cases, the invader. I will ignore the invader if I know that I'm about 2 clips away from taking down the Primeval. If I know we are 2 clips each away, if even just one other teammate stays alive, that invader can take out the other 2 guys, and we will still take out the Primeval. And that's exactly what happened in these last 2 matches that I played before I got my restriction notice. The guy came in, he wiped out 2 of our teams. Me and the other player, we kept focusing on the Primeval, and the timer expired. This guy was still running around on the map trying to shoot us. We're evading him and shooting the Primeval. We kill the Primeval. Now, I know that's got to assault someone, especially if they're cheating to win. And that's what I think would happen. I think that there was just a spam report on my account for whatever shenanigans they want to claim. I don't think it's actually a Bungie person who's looking at the data, who's really looking at the data and saying, "Hey, you know what? Yeah, this is kind of curious here." Okay, we have 2 people playing Destiny in this household, myself and my son. All right, and he plays just as much Destiny as I do. He plays just as much Gambit and Crucible as I do, and he has never gotten a restriction. He's gotten suspensions for being AFK, because he's a good kid and he's a nice housemate, and he will get up and take care of IRL when it needs to be taken care of. As a consequence, he comes back and he's in orbit. I'll hear this and I'm like, "Oh, dude, got kicked to orbit again?" He goes, and I know that's what happens. I mean, AFK happens. It's life. Get over it, guys. But the same internet, playing the same activities that I do. Granted, I probably do play more Gambit than he does, but I'm telling you guys, I think Gambit is cursed. I think Gambit has got some funky shit going on to it. My recommendation, and what I'm going to do after my 2 month restriction, is I'm going to play the minimum amount of Gambit as needed for whatever quests or progress is going on in the game. Because anything more than that, I think it pisses off the game. I think it triggers some kind of a algorithm or AI bot or whatever, and you get it's just bad. It's bad, bad, bad. And I recommend ditching out of the match, because after multiple suspensions, you will get a restriction. I know that's because I don't do it. I will finish if a match if I'm in a PvP or Cruise or Gambit match that is so laggy that I barely get off the spawn before somebody blows my head off, or I can't do real damage to the enemies. I hold back and do my best to stay alive. I can't earn any points, so I'm going to do the damnedest I can not to give up any points. And I have played numerous Crucible matches just like that. Iron Banner, Control, Survival, Elimination. I hate Showdown. Showdown is just... Countdown is about as worse as that. Mayhem even. Even Mayhem, where I have supers all the time. I will spam my super out there as much as I can. I'll throw every grenade I can so Shax doesn't yell at me at the end of the match. And I will do my best not to engage any enemies. And do my best to stay alive. And that's my strategy when I see the connection is bad. Rather than ditch out of the game, I will just be a ghost. And so, normally I do that with Gambit too. If the connection is really bad. So I'm really trying to wrap my head around the whole concept here. But what's really important, and what I want to get to the point on this, because it's already been 10 minutes now and I have yet to... Seasonal challenges, okay? The seasonal challenges are how you get Bright Dust now. Alright? The seasonal challenges is how you get certain other consumables. There's the Bright Dust. There's the Bright Dust. There's Bright Dust. Now, I don't buy the silver. There's very little cosmetics wise in this game that actually, intrigues me. And I'm not really a trophy hunter. I'm not really a triumph hunter. I'm not really a lore hunter. All the lore can be found on the internet and YouTube. There's a beautiful channel. My name is Bife and Luton. Both of these guys, they go into the Destiny lore. They do a really nice narrative, walkthrough, reading entire chapters, reading entire collections of books, going into exploring the what ifs and possibilities and the implications of this story beyond the scope. And so, not saying that if they weren't there, I would go for the lore books. If they weren't there, I still wouldn't go for the lore books. I'm not actively hunting the lore books. It's been an entire season of new lore books, and I've just stumbled into them. I play the game that much that I can just stumble into things. I stumbled into Dredgen, the title. I got far enough along in my play that I just needed that one quest, that one mission, to get the Malfeasance. And I found a couple other people. One of them happened to be my son. We got a buddy, and the three of us went in and we did the Malfeasance thing and got the Malfeasance. It's not hard to do. If you play the game, you're going to get unlocks. But here's the thing. I got a 2-month restriction. These are weekly challenges. From what I understand, once the week passes, I can't complete them. I am not going to be able to complete this week's challenge because it's got Crucible on here. Nor am I going to get the Gambit one. So not only for 2 months am I not allowed to pay for roughly half the content that I paid for, because I did buy the seasonal pass. And while even a free to play player can play Gambit and PvP, I paid for that essentially. Doesn't matter if it was free or not. I paid for it. That's like if you went out to DriveThru RPG and you find somebody's contribution there, and it says "pay what you want, 0 is okay." If I download the PDF and only half the PDF gets to me and I paid 0 for it, I'm going to be like, oh, sure, no problem. But if I decide to be a good person, well, I won't say a good person. If I decide to be supportive of this, creator's content and, encourage them to produce more content, and I give them, say, $5 for the PDF, which is pretty par, and I get everything but the last 2 tables of the book. Now, while those 2 tables are not essential to play the game, they are part of the deal. I would be upset. I would say, hey, man, or ma'am, I gave you $5 for your PDF as basically a gratuity, but I expected a complete product here. And then they would be like, oh, well, I am so sorry. Thank you for pointing that out. I was not aware that it was excluding the tables. I'll include the tables, and I get a personal email back with a PDF of those 2 tables. Am I being specific about this example? Maybe. But what I'm saying is that there's a difference between product services and then customer support and customer service. And I feel as though that being disallowed to complete these 2 challenges because some robot in Bungie or maybe some ninja admin at Bungie decided that, hey, you know what, he's playing way too much Gambit and he's really kind of getting good at doing what he's doing. I think there's shenanigans. I no longer can play. Now I'm not able to complete this. So here's my suggestion, because I'm not just going to bitch, because bitching is just being able to hear your own voice in anger. I actually have a complaint and I have a suggestion on how this kind of situation can be rectified. First and foremost, the appeals page, that's nice, but it's lip service. It does nothing to you. This is what happened when I appealed the first time. I sent them an explanation, the same explanation I gave you guys. My son and I play on the same Wi-Fi. We have the same Wi-Fi connection strength. We have the same internet connection strength. He plays just about as much Gambit and Crucible as I do. I report people, he doesn't. I'm the one with the restriction. Maybe you should look into who's being reported and why they're being reported. And that's the email I got back. Now, I'm not on a PC. I don't have some fancy way of showing you guys what the email is. And personally, I was so insulted that I just deleted it. And it's somewhere in the trash pile. I'm sure I can dig it out. It's only been about 2 months. I think Google saves mail for up to 3 months, 4 months. But basically, they just sent back the very thing I sent to them. And I'm like, this is not help at all. And the only reason why I found out it was a 2-week restriction was because I went out to cross-save, And I figured, well, maybe it's a device thing, because they didn't really give me any specifics. They just said my connection, um, which I would imply would it is implied that my Wi-Fi and my internet is that bad that I can't play. Again, I'm going to bring up the point. There's somebody else in this household playing on the same connection, playing on the same Wi-Fi. Different account, just to be clear. Okay, they're not playing my account. They are playing their own account. Okay, he has his own account, and it's a really good account too. Um, I lost my train of thought there. Oh, that's right. The only reason why I found out about my restriction was going to be the 2 week one was because I didn't really dive into all this. I didn't go looking through forums figuring out what the fuck happened. I just kind of took it on faith that this is okay. Maybe I deserve this somehow. Maybe they're in their right. I went to CrossSave to see. Well, you know what? I've got access to Stadia and Steam. Maybe I'll just go ahead and load Destiny up on the PC and I'll play right there. Hardline connection straight into the game, and I might actually still do that. Um, Although it would greatly restrict the amount of time I would play because the PC is not always available, except for like wee hours of the morning, which of course this morning was not the case because my son was up as well. So he wasn't using the PC. I could have played on the PC if I wanted to. But anyway, long story short, when I went to do the cross save, it says, "Hey, you can't do the cross save. You got a restriction on this account." And that restriction comes due in 12 days. And I was like, wow. So you can find out how long your restriction is because it'll tell you when you go to cross save. If you haven't cross saved already, if you are cross saved and you want to cross save to a different platform, then you could. But if you're cross saved all the way, that doesn't really matter. They're not going to tell you anything anyway. They may still, who knows? So if you're on a restriction, you want to find out how long it's going to be, you can go ahead and actually just go to cross save and see about cross saving to something else if you haven't done it yet. Anyway, the real point of this is that I really do think that seasonal challenges are fine. That's all fine and good. But I think all the seasonal challenges should be directly specific to the seasonal activity. Okay? If the seasonal activity is doing these hammer challenge, I don't. uh, let's see. If the seasonal challenges are just related to the hammer, the season itself. There's nothing in Showdown that says, "Oh, we're going to upstage the Cabal." I don't see Cabal in PvP. Now in Gambit there are Cabal, but earn points by banking motes, defeating blockers, and defeating invaders in Gambit. I hate to tell you, dude, but I could get this done in an afternoon. I could have gotten that done in an afternoon. This I'm not so sure about. I don't know what the percentage is. Um, it might be 20 matches if you don't win and 10 matches if you do. It might be 50 matches if you don't win and 30 matches if you do. It's hard to say. This might be an all-week thing, especially since, like I said, I am no ace player when it comes to PvP, but I have fun in PvP. Um, and I could be that guy in Gambit, but I don't. I choose not to be. I choose not to be the dickhead in Gambit that's killing everything, staking all the moats, and invading every opportunity he can. I don't. I'm not that person. I don't. Not. That's not a team player. Now in PvP, it's supposed to be a team event, and if I'm in there with an actual fire team, in other words, my son and our friends, then I am a team player. But when I play PvP, it's 1v11. It's 1v5. Because the other guys on my team, they're doing the same thing. They're treating everybody else like high functioning NPCs. So I do my best again to stay out of the way, pick my own targets, and just stay alive. So I think the seasonal challenges shouldn't be related to anything outside of the season's theme. Okay, Flourish of Powers is, defeat guardians in the Mayhem playlist with super abilities. I don't remember doing that. I don't remember playing Mayhem last week. I think I played. Well, no, I did play some Mayhem. I played like 2 or 3 matches with a fire team with my actual clan. So maybe that's how that completed. Dredging up victory, yeah. That's there. But again, the PvP and the Gambit shouldn't be part of the season because it's not the seasonal content. The seasonal content is leveling the recaster and leveling the table, and that's supposed to be for you know hammer enhancements and stuff like that, and the reputation rank for the challenges, the titles, you know the Kaido Challenge, I guess, or whatever it's called. What is it actually called? Let's do this real quick because I'm going to wrap this video here. Challengers proving, yeah, okay. It's called Battlegrounds. Okay, there you go. If the seasonal content is something like Battlegrounds, then all the seasonal challenges should be related to Battlegrounds and then the open world. Gambit and the PvP is not the open world. So I think pushing that's the funny thing as hell too, because almost all the tooling that Bungie does with their weapons and armor and abilities is all based on PvP. It's almost all based on PvP. There's been some very rare instances where they needed to restrict access to a gun or a piece of armor, exotic. There's some points involved there. Um, that it's like some rare things, rare things. I'm going tantric with my season pass, by the way, so I haven't picked out any of the armor or engrams other than the bright ones because they're just cosmetics. So, what am I whining about? Well, I'm whining about the loss of Bright Dust, but I mean, really, to be fair, do I care? This would be zero if I cared, honestly. Um, but the point is that for those of us who do care about the Bright Dust, and then not being able to do those activities, either because we just don't play those activities or we're not that good at those activities. Yes, there's only two out of all that list that are specific to those things, but if the game is trying to get people to play those two things, I don't know. I just don't think it should be part of the seasonal challenges if it's not directly related to the seasonal content. Unless Kaido has some special co-ops the Gambit or co-ops PvP, and we start seeing Cabal show up on Burnout and stuff like that, which personally I think would be fantastic. Um, it's kind of I got the patty cake emote. That is kind of cute. I'm sorry. I'm gonna gush a little bit about this. Um, this is so much fun. Okay, I don't know. I'm dorking out here now for some reason because this is like I said. I don't pursue the cosmetics because I do enough for the game and earn enough levels that I get bright engrams, and it's good to it's fun. It's fun to have those little bits of candy here and there. But again, I'm not pushing for Bright Dust, and the only reason why I wanted to do the challenges was because I thought, hey, is this relevant to the season? God, it really isn't. It's just how you get Bright Dust now. Um, but that being said, Bungie, check your robots or check your ninjas, because I'm going to be right here and say that I kind of feel like I'm being targeted. Because if I get restrictions and suspension, if I get suspensions for being AFK, I'm fine with that. Bad on me. But I wasn't the one lagging in those matches. I wasn't the one um, being able to stay on my opponent's map well after the invasion timer ran out. I wasn't the one who was able to snipe through the barriers, through the game maps to kill my allies. Kill my opponents. I'm not the one who's, you know, uh, lag switching so that I can collect all the motes before my teammates do. And I really do think that, like I said, either check your bots that are managing, that are watchdogging shit, or check your ninjas because I think there's someone who's kind of slipping on their job and probably needs to have an evaluation of their own. But that's all there is for that, Ghost Gamers and Guardians. Hope you enjoy the rest of the week. You will probably be on after the TWAB to comment a little bit about what's going on with that, because I'm sure it's going to be something spicy. There's been some talk that I'm not going to go into, and we're going to see how things kind of pan out. I've got some projections of my own, and I want to see if they come true. But I will talk with you all later. Thanks for stopping by.